Hello, how are you? Many people report having increasing difficulty sleeping, whether it's falling asleep or waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning and not being able to get back to sleep, and they would like a healthier alternative to try to improve this. Often, one of the systems in our body, we have two, right? One for alertness and one for relaxation, can become unbalanced and you end up having trouble staying asleep during this very important part of the night. So let's talk about 4 plants that you probably have at home which will really help you improve your sleep. Stick around until the end because you won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask you, is it harder for you to fall asleep, to actually get to sleep? Or are you one of those people who falls asleep quickly but wakes up in the middle of the night and then has trouble falling back asleep? How does that work for you? Write it for me down here in the comments. I'd love to see your response. Leave a like on the video because that really helps me out. And if you know someone who suffers from insomnia or wakes up a lot during the night, has poor sleep quality, share this video. It could be a way for you to help that person too. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we have 2 systems in our body that work in a complementary way, so to speak. One of them is the alert system, also known as the stress axis, which is largely driven by cortisol and adrenaline. It's mainly responsible for keeping us alert, active, and able to carry out tasks throughout the day. Early in the morning, we already have a physiological peak of cortisol, which is normal and expected. It's the awakening hormone, and it should drop drastically by evening. In insomnia, what often happens is what we call an inverted or sustained peak, where cortisol levels are high at night and keep the brain in a state of alertness, which shouldn't happen because your body perceives it as if there were an imminent danger. When adrenaline is elevated, it also increases heart rate and muscle tone. So your body understands that you can't let your guard down, you can't relax, you can't fall asleep. There's a danger lurking around you, so you have to always stay alert. So this is an important point. Many people have this system highly stimulated nowadays. There's also the counter-regulatory system, which is the relaxation system, which acts like our biological break, right? For us to sleep, our brain needs to enter a more relaxed state. And when we think about relaxation, the first neurotransmitter that always comes to mind is GABA, because it's the main messenger of relaxation. It reduces the activity of neurons, helps quiet mental noise and racing thoughts, and allows brain waves to slow down, promoting a more relaxed state. Without efficient GABA, our mind stays accelerated. That famous thing, right? The body is sped up, the mind is tired, the mind is always on. So it's important for GABA to work the way it's supposed to. Besides GABA, we have serotonin, because it's the raw material for making melatonin. And when we have low levels of serotonin during the day, you often have a harder time falling asleep at night, because melatonin is like it says, hey, you fell asleep. It sends a signal to our brain that it's nighttime so that all of this can happen, for GABA to increase, for body temperature to drop. So it's important that we are able to have that drop in body temperature that induces our sleep. So it's important for these 2 systems to remain in balance, since both of them play essential roles in the body's proper functioning. It's important that we stay awake, alert, and vigilant in the morning. And it's important that our body is able to fall asleep at night. So let's talk about these plants that can help you regulate these 2 very important systems. The first plant, which is one of the best known when we think about insomnia, is passion flower or passion fruit leaf. Many people already know about this and have been taking it for centuries, right? Grandma used to recommend it. Mothers would make tea from the leaves for their children. That's because it really contains flavonoids and alkaloids that work by increasing the bioavailability of GABA in the synaptic cleft. So our ancestors, our grandmothers, they knew this, right? Really empirically from experience. But science has already confirmed that it prevents the neuron from reabsorbing the GABA that has already been released, keeping it available for longer and calming the nervous system. In addition, it binds to the GABA-A receptor, facilitating the opening of chloride channels. And when chloride enters the neuron, the cell becomes hyperpolarized. In other words, it becomes much harder for the mind to send out signals, to trigger anxiety signals or racing thoughts. That's why, for many people who have those negative thoughts before going to sleep, thinking about bills, thinking about problems, thinking about the world, about war, and so on, passion flower tea can be a great option. Usually, to make passion flower tea, people use 1 teaspoon of dried leaves with about 1 to 1 1/4 cup of boiling water. Combine the 2, wait for the infusion to happen, about 10 minutes, strain it, and it's ready to drink. It's a very pleasant tea, so you won't need to add sugar. You really don't need it. But Patricia, I like to have it with a bit of honey. I like a sweet taste. Can I add some stevia or a sweetener? You can even add a non-caloric sweetener. As for honey, only if it's just a tiny bit, because it also causes a glucose spike, and we know that's not very good for us before bedtime. But since it's a very pleasant tea, I suggest you make it and try it without adding anything, and then let me know if you feel the need to sweeten it or not. I don't think you'll need to. At the end, I'll tell you the best time for you to drink these teas. The second plant is also one of the most potent for people who suffer from insomnia, and you can use it as a tea or even buy supplements made from it, which are sold in health food stores and also online, and that is valerian. Valerian contains valerianic acid and other acids, and it is one of the most potent plants in many aspects of the GABA system. It forces the presynaptic neurons to release more GABA, it increases the production of GABA in our body, and it also decreases the degradation of GABA. So it's very interesting for keeping GABA levels high in our body. So it has very important calming effects and helps to initiate that zero latency state. In other words, to fall asleep quickly. Many people who have trouble falling asleep say that when they consume valerian tea or the supplement within the proper dosage, of course, and regularly, they are able to have greater control over this and manage to have a more pleasant sleep routine, falling asleep more easily. If you are going to use the tea, it's basically the same way you would use passion flower tea. These natural teas made with dried plants usually always follow the same proportion, 1 teaspoon for 1 cup of boiling water. As I mentioned, many people choose to consume valerian dry extract because they find it more practical. It is sold as small tablets or in soft gel capsules. And usually, the recommended dose is 300 to 600 milligrams at night before going to bed, 30 to 60 minutes before sleeping. Of course, this dose can vary from person to person, and if you already take any sleep medication or psychiatric medication, it's important that you confirm this first with your doctor or your nutritionist, okay? Remember that this video is for informational purposes only. Of course, we can't not talk about chamomile, right? It's one of the most studied plants for relaxation and sleep. It contains apigenin, which is a very interesting molecular structure because it fits precisely into the brain's benzodiazepine receptors, the same receptors where those medications like diazepam bind, but obviously in a much gentler way. I'm not in any way trying to compare the effects of chamomile to benzodiazepines here. But I want to tell you that it fits into this same structure, and in a gentler, even more pleasant way, and it doesn't cause dependence, unlike the medication. So, besides the brain, it also acts on the digestive system, reducing spasms. We know about the very important gut-brain axis, right? We know that when we manage to get the gut working better, we improve the production of many neurotransmitters that travel through the bloodstream to our brain. And this muscle relaxation in the central nervous system gives that signal of safety, which I've already mentioned to you so we can rest. So it's ideal for those who feel a lot of anxiety and for those who have gastric problems related to anxiety, stress, and can't sleep well because of it. Sometimes you get a stomach ache, that feeling of slow digestion, lots of gas, those tensions related to anxiety. Chamomile is fantastic for that. And in the same way, use 1 teaspoon for 1 to 1 1/4 cup of boiling water to make your tea. And you definitely don't need to sweeten it, right? It's a very pleasant tea, naturally a bit sweet. And ideally, you should always use the flowers to make the tea. So many people buy those industrialized tea bags. If you can, buy the package that comes with the dried flowers, that yellowish part where there are more active compounds. Another type of plant you can add to your routine is lemon balm, Melissa. Melissa contains rosmarinic acid, which is very important for increasing the inhibition of an enzyme that would otherwise promote the destruction of GABA, right? It would increase the destruction of GABA in our body, bringing us back to a state of alert. And Melissa acts directly on this enzyme, which is GABA transaminase. So the GABA that your body naturally produces will remain more active, more alive, more potent, more powerful. And Melissa really does play this very interesting role. It's also a very good plant for us to add. It's interesting that all these calming plants are gentle, sweet, tasty, so they can become part of your nighttime ritual to help you get into a good sleep hygiene routine. Of course, it's no use thinking that just consuming these plants will have an immediate effect, like magic, to help us fall asleep. Obviously, you may notice a very beneficial effect even within the first few days, but it's also important to remember that good sleep hygiene matters. You should have a dark room, a comfortable temperature, minimal noise, gradually reduce your exposure to lights, including from your phone and TV, as the evening and nighttime approach. So it's important to have good sleep hygiene in your environment. I have a playlist here where I talk more about supplements, teas, the best and worst foods, sleep hygiene, to help you with this. Remember that sleep is also very important for weight loss, blood sugar control, inflammation, so it's important that we also keep that in mind, right? Now, regarding the best time to take these herbs, these teas, or valerian tablets, if that's the case. In the case of tea specifically, the ideal is that we try to consume it at least an hour and a half to 2 hours before going to bed. Because imagine you want to fall asleep. First, it needs to be absorbed by your body, right? Everything we consume passes through our esophagus, reaches our stomach, and is absorbed in the intestine, so it takes some time. That's already one factor to consider. There's no point in trying to drink it in 5 minutes and thinking it will take effect because that's not how it works. So the digestive process takes a specific amount of time, like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And besides that, it also gives your body time to metabolize it, for it to pass through your kidneys and for you to urinate. Because many people start drinking these teas before going to bed, lie down right after, and then wake up either with reflux because they have a large volume in their stomach, or wake up needing to urinate. So it ends up disrupting their night's sleep because they drink a large amount of liquid right before bed, and that's not what we want. So drinking it an hour and a half to 2 hours before going to bed might be a good idea for you. Let me know down below if you've ever used any of these plants to help you relax, fall asleep, reduce anxiety, which one works best for you, or if you have another tip. I'd love to see your comment. Remember to like the video, it helps me a lot, and share it with someone who would enjoy it or who needs it. Let's work together to spread this chain of kindness because that's what I want here on the channel. See you next time. Bye.